Courage, valor, love of country, honor, solidarity, and loyalty to the nation. These are the values that make heroes and martyrs stand out from ordinary folk. And these are the values that a soldier embraces the moment he enters the Philippine Army. Called on a noble mission to defend the country from external threats, the Army made a significant mark in history when it led the whole nation towards the attainment of Philippine independence in 1898. Through these years, it has created countless unsung heroes who gave up their lives to uphold the nation's highest ideals. The Neophyte Philippine Army was founded on March 22, 1897 in Tejeros, Cavite by noble Filipino freedom fighters after centuries of struggle against the Spaniards. It was first organized under the banner of the KKK or the Kataas-Taasan Kagalang-galangang Katipunan ng Mga Anak ng Bayan, an organization formed by the great revolutionary Andres Bonifacio. The courageous pack of Filipino fighters who joined this revolutionary army bravely laid out their lives for the country during the Filipino-American War in 1899 and the World War II in 1941 until the Philippines gained full independence in 1946. After more than a century, the Philippine Army continues to adhere to the values instilled by its patriotic ancestors. These values served as guiding principles of the organization through the years. As the state's protector from external and internal security threats, the Army has committed itself to organize, train, equip, deploy, and sustain ground forces that will defeat the communist terrorist movement. And since the Philippines put premium on diplomacy and international relations, the Army serves as the country's frontliner in the global fight against terrorism. It also supports numerous peacekeeping operations abroad by providing troops for combat and socio-civic operations. Although it espouses international peacekeeping initiatives, the Army does its best to ensure the Filipinos that they are free from terror, harassment, and internal attacks. And many have lost their lives in the process. However, in spite of insurmountable risk that the Filipino soldiers encounter on a daily basis, the Army religiously supports the national defense programs and armed forces mission, including the expansion of the peacetime Army component to meet any emergency. As the country's vanguard for peace, it is the Army's duty to organize and upgrade its training forces and reserve units for prompt and sustained combat operations. As an entity laden with challenging tasks to protect national interest, the Army is organized with combat support, and service support units scattered across the archipelago. It has strong support troops composed of Army officers, enlisted personnel, CAFGU active auxiliaries, and civilian employees. Each plays a significant role in safeguarding the country's territories and preserving the citizens' right to live in a peaceful and progressive nation. The Philippine Army envisions that by 2020, it has transformed into a stronger defense force composed of professional, capable, and responsive troops that showcases the strength of the Republic and the people's increased confidence in their defense force. In its desire to foster the culture of excellence and competitiveness, the Army invests in its most important asset by selecting only the best men and women for the job. Only the most committed, physically equipped, and disciplined individuals survive the death-defying screening and training process. The organization also provides continuing education, capability building programs and trainings to its troops and Army personnel. Equipment are constantly upgraded as well to keep up with the various peacekeeping trends. Since internal security remains the key concern of the Army, troops are stationed in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. The life of a Filipino soldier is also about creating a legacy that will be remembered by Filipinos even in the absence of war and peacekeeping operations. As a reliable partner of the government and socio-civic groups in upholding public interest, the Army has actively participated in community development programs whose major thrusts are education, people empowerment, and social development. The Army takes pride in its literacy and development programs, which are custom designed to empower the rural folk. Among these extension-oriented services are the Army Literacy Patrol, CARES, otherwise known as Community Assistance through Rural Empowerment and Social Services, and the Army Concern on Community Organizing for Development, or ACORD. Last year alone, more than 27,000 individuals benefited from these training and development initiatives, enabling the recipients to explore more sustainable means of livelihood. Apart from its focus on training and development, it is worth noting that in 2007, the Army through its Civil Works Assistance Program has helped build some 161 roads in support to LGU's road widening projects. Farm-to-market roads are indispensable in the life of a rural folk whose means of livelihood depended heavily on agricultural production or in buying and selling of basic agricultural goods. Provision of health services to depressed rural areas is also one of the major priorities of the Army. Last year, almost 180,000 individuals who do not have access to decent health services availed of free dental and medical treatments. They also received blood donations and benefited from various surgical missions held nationwide. These activities proved to be life-changing opportunities for most Filipinos who were living in the remotest towns and barrios. Community cause-oriented projects were also given priority. Last year, more than 384,000 individuals benefited from Army-led religious activities, youth development programs, human rights orientation, and peace process programs. Apart from these advocacies, almost 800,000 beneficiaries extended their gratitude to the Army for providing transportation, communication, security, and manpower support to communities. With all these socio-civic initiatives geared towards the community development, the Army is proud to say that it has created a lasting impact in the hearts of the Filipinos. As it moves towards the realization of its long-term goals, the Philippine Army is continuously redesigning its programs in ways that will uplift its manpower and force structure through training and development, capability building, and enhancement of morale and welfare programs. The organization, being a vital element in preserving national pride, strives to serve the Filipino at its best. With each passing moment, it endeavors to adhere to the virtues that freed this nation from its oppressors. Beyond the stiff demeanor of a soldier is an ordinary Filipino hoping to make a difference in a country whose search for genuine peace and social progress is a continuing crusade. For every fight, for every march, for every battle, and for every life lost to a noble cause, the Philippine Army hopes to create a niche in raising the bar for peace, development, and public service.